brothers and sisters in the Dharma. Welcome to the Sunday check-in section, a 30-minute gathering for Dharma teachings, introspection, and connecting with the community. So my name is Joyce, and I'm from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I've been a member of this community for past 3 years. So for those who have recently joined our community, please accept our sincere welcome. So if you have any uncertainties or curious about the practice and topics, please don't hesitate to let us know. So, and for our regular members, it's great to have you back. Welcome. So it is customary in Australia to begin any meeting by acknowledging the traditional owners of our land. So in the spirit of reconciliation, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we walk, study, and reside, the Wadi people of the Tarawa Nation, and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. I also pay my respect to the traditional custodians of the various lands on which you all are. So the check-in sections have been developed by our community's practice team and the entire community. These sections aim to develop a reflective practice in response to changes. So guided by humanistic Buddhism, we would like to cultivate our practices and build memorable friendships. So last week, Aina guided us on the topic of good friends, and today she's bringing us to explore another level of friendship, spiritual friends. So let's warmly welcome Aina to facilitate on this beautiful topic. Aina, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Joyce, very much. And welcome to another Friendship Hour. Last week, we discussed friendship as a broad swath of interactions and interpretations and meaning to ourselves as we travel our path. This week, we're going to narrow our focus a bit on what is called spiritual friendship. It's the same, but maybe a little different, because I see it as honing in on our task and purpose as it relates to our inner being. So in order to be prepared to take that inward look at our spiritual path, let's spend a couple minutes of meditation. Perhaps a meditation that allows us to look inside and just comfortably watch our mind, our breath, as we prepare for this evening. And now let's come back and engage those senses that we put aside for a bit and think about friendship. Next slide, please. Last week, we talked about the Buddha's take on the importance of heartfelt relationships, friendships that serve needs, that feed our hearts, and maybe even just a heartful laugh at times. The Buddha told us that good friends, companions, associates are the whole of the spiritual life. And this evening, we're going to look primarily at the word spiritual and how we seek people to help us on our path. I want to mention that last week I also heard not only of the richness of friendship, but also some of our pain when friendships go awry, and in many ways, the natural separation when we lose due to death or a parting of the ways. Um, the joy of being soulmates cannot be replaced by concerts or candy. We need companions. And friendships, in my way of thinking, are multifaceted. They're also multi-generational. Some of our best friends are little guys, and hopefully we're good friends to them. And we often have multiple objectives in our friendship. Next slide, please. I found this because I think it's kind of cool in that you look at friendships on a very sort of Cleveland basis. You know, friendship is when people know all about you but like you anyway. And then another level is a friend is someone who is there and accepts you as you are. And these two quotes to me set the stage for some of the difference from acceptance to growth in relationship. Next slide, please. So today we're going to focus on the vital role of friendship in progressing on our spiritual path, whether that path be defined by the Buddha or God of one's religion. A lot of times, I think whatever we practice, we tend to think that ours is the best way. And maybe it's the best way for us, but it's never the only way. And often when we try to figure things out, especially we of in the Western world, try to understand translations of sutras and translation of teachings from Asian cultures, we get a little lost. And I think it's because to me, Asian writing is more poetic than ours. Ours is just a little, maybe at times a little too factual. I found this book, Rebel Buddha, and in it, the author explained spiritual friendship, and that the spiritual friend is often our teacher, but our teacher has to have knowledge, um, a level of insight, what we might call wisdom, and a discipline in practicing what they preach in a way, and inspiring so that we can learn from them and want to learn from them. Um, it's also not just all esoteric stuff, it's also practical application. How do we take that teaching and breathe life into our everyday experiences? A good spiritual teacher also will not let us get by with stuff. Will point out for us our blind spots, our places where for maybe we think self-preservation, we tend to not want to look. And then I found another way of looking at spiritual friend, and that's on the next slide. I kind of call it the Amazon delivery. You know, they say that you shop, Amazon gives, and there's a big smile. So these are some of the things that I think we shop for in friendship. And I want you to take a look at these. And can you find the divine abodes, or what we call the four immeasurables, in those boxes? Loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. Also, I bet you can find the six paramitas, the perfections that are in the role of a spiritual guide or a spiritual friend. Generosity, morality, patience, diligence, meditation, and wisdom. There's also a logical progression in spiritual friendship's impact on our spiritual development. And that's the next slide. And if we could have it, yeah. And this I want you to look at for a moment, and then I'm going to explain it. Start at the bottom and go up. it begins with intimacy and honesty. And then the next level of virtuous conduct really means that we don't want to be seen by these caring teachers as corrupted. So we act admirably so that we maintain that friendship, which then leads us to the next level of not talking in a frivolous manner. What we say is not gossiping, but rather using our speech for kindness and for our development and for the loving kindness of others, which leads us to the next level of deep thought that's inspirational, because we're not clouded by all this other stuff. So we're moving forward up into a compassionate moral conduct, which then goes back to those 4 immeasurables that we mentioned earlier. And all of that is so that for the purpose that we can understand truly the cycle of life, truly those 3 Dharma seals that we talk about, but require a level of introspection and challenging thought, so that we can understand that then even in the time of pain and loss, we can have hope and joy. As a spiritual friend, and as a guide and as a learner. I think that when we look at the importance of spiritual friendship, from the sutra to our everyday life, we owe a thank you. And that thank you is to a very benevolent man who was among us, and in my mind is still among us, and that is the Venerable Master. Next slide, please. He speaks not of spiritual friend, but as benevolent friend. And he says, our benevolent friend, of our benevolent friend, what can we offer these benevolent friends that have provided many causes and conditions to help and support us? Are we willing to respect them with humility, praise them with positive speech, and offer them our service? And then he goes on to talk about being a benevolent friend. If we want to be a benevolent friend, we need to guide others along the right path, be knowledgeable, have right views, be good at teaching, and provide encouragement. And that makes me think about how we should experience deep reciprocity in a spiritual friendship relationship. I think we not only do we deserve a thank you to our spiritual guides. As spiritual guides, we also need to say, you're welcome. That giving to you is something that comes from the heart, even times when it's hard, and that we value your relationship. And that then becomes a sort of a feedback loop, or a two-way street that helps us go forward. I like to think of our teacher as our friend, and that we are friend to the teacher. So now some thoughts for our small group discussion, and that's the next slide, please. And maybe next slide. I got them in. Joyce, you were right. I had them in the wrong order. I chose this picture of this guy. I just ran on to this quote of his. A friend is one of the nicest things you can have, and one of the best things you can be. And I think that's true in spiritual friendships, especially. And the reason why I chose this is I read some of his material. Plus, to me, he looks like a cross between an Australian rancher and an American cowboy. So he's my guy for the day. As we go into our discussion group, I have some questions for us. let's think about the spiritual friends that we have had. Have you had a spiritual friend? How have you been a spiritual friend? Remember, whether we're the giver or the receiver, we are both the giver and the receiver. And how does spiritual friendship benefit both people? And how do we go about finding spiritual friends on our path toward awakening, our path toward peace and joy? Joyce, your turn.
Thank you, Aina, for the very insightful sharing. Okay, now we will be placed into groups of 3 to 4 to share and discuss. So in the discussion, we recommend you to spend some time getting to know each other and then discuss our questions. So there will be some Zoom notifications to guide you, but feel free to let the flow of your discussions guide you. So our sections are guided by metta, which is unconditional love and kindness for all sentient beings. Let's use these breakout sections to express and receive loving kindness to and from one another, and take time to pause, share, and listen. We'll also ask you to share some of your findings with the larger group at the end of the breakout sections. So now let's go to our breakout rooms for rich and nourishing discussions. See you back in 15 minutes time.
Liam says, this community is my Sangha, spiritual friends that uplift each other in the direction we all want to go. And Jillian, that's what you were talking about when we were so rudely interrupted and had to come back to the big bunch. And Ken says, benefits of spiritual friends. Whoops, where did you go, Ken? Shared the same values and teachings. For example, right intention. It keeps on. Someday I'll learn. I need a computer spiritual friend here. Where did it go? Okay, here we are. For example, right intention of the spiritual path, the trust, loving kindness, and compassion toward each other. And Priscilla says spiritual friends are authentic and allow our own authenticity to grow. Where else are we here? Cecile, spiritual friends inspire each other to great heights of achieving purpose and mission in life. But we need to be purified first before we can truly serve. I'd say authenticity versus conditional. Karmic affinities bring us together and take very, very little effort and pushing along. It's saying, by the way, that my internet is a little unstable. We're expecting a storm or maybe even a tornado here tonight. So I apologize if I get knocked off again. Soulmate. Often another term we use to express the deeper energy contact that we have with someone who's passed with us along life's path. And Niran says spiritual friends are all, everyone and everything, if we greet them so.
Thank you, Aina. Yeah. We really hope that the check-in section was helpful to you, and we hope you experience the unconditional love and compassion of this community. So for anyone who might be experiencing a greater need than what today could meet, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. And you can also reach out to the professional organizations on the screen. So a big thank you to Aina for your effort in guiding us on the topic of friendships. Next Sunday, we will have Katya to share a turning point story with the community. So please come and join us. So as we check up today, let's recite the dedication of merits together to send love and compassion to whoever is in need.
Sorry, I'm not sure if I shared sound, so. Did it go?
Let us now dedicate the goodness of what you have done to all living beings. May kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity pervade all worlds. May we cherish and build affinities to benefit all beings. May Chan, Pure Land, and precepts inspire equality and patience. May our gratitude and humility give rise to great vows.
Thank you, Anna, for your time once again and your generous sharing with us on the topic of spiritual friend. So thank you, Joe, for being our IT master behind the scenes, and Priscilla on coordinating the slides sharing on the screen today. And thank you everyone for joining us. So now we will have our usual plenary session. So please stay around if you have time. Otherwise, see you all again next Sunday at 11